don't you hate getting an ominous text from your mum when you're about to record a podcast with zero context and then she doesn't reply ever? It's like, don't send me a message that I have no idea how I'm going to have to help you without getting back to me, despite the fact that you've just made it seem like it's an emergency. Oh, God. Sometimes I have to text my mum in a group chat that she's messaging in to say, can you, swing over to the private one-on-one that we have with, timelines and urgent moments and all of this, and reply, because you're replying about a recreational hang with me, my sister, and you, but you aren't replying to a life-threatening question. Anyway, good morning, good afternoon, good lunchtime, good morrow, wherever, whenever, however, whoever this podcast finds you. I hope it's well. I'm not doing well mentally. I have much to say, not a lot of time. The memory card on this camera is running low. I smell bad. I look good. Sometimes the dichotomy of life is just that. Inside all of us are two wolves. The wolf who is not doing well but looks amazing. The wolf who is mentally unwell but hot as hell. What can you do? The times I look the worst, I am mentally the best. When I look the best, I am mentally the worst. That's the way the cookie crumbles. This hat is giving me lice. For those who can't see me, I'm wearing a bright, fluffy hat. This week I've come into a couple different fluffy, bright, neon type pieces. The hat being one. A pair of shoes with the other that I put a poll on Instagram, because some influencers like to engage with their audience and show them the prettiest parts of their life. But I like to make sure you all get a piece of the pie when it comes to decision making that is inane and reflective of my personal taste and style, so that when you ultimately vote no on something that I think is the epitome, is the peak of chic style, and people are like, yuck, what is that? I feel confused. I often get critiqued, especially by the homosexual men who are around me 24/7, on what I wear and how I style my body. So, yeah, do I have thick skin? For sure. I was reared in the 90s and early thousands when being heroin chic was still fat. So it takes a lot to penetrate the impenetrable. Anyway, let's just get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. Breathe in. Welcome to What the Fuchs with Jess Fuchs. Now breathe out. And scream. Because here's what's pissed Jess off this week. This is my final week in Sydney. We are at T-6 days. This time next week, you will be listening to a pre-recorded, but not just pre-recorded the way this is pre-recorded, but a truly pre-recorded episode, because I will be in the middle of flying to London. So if you listen to this episode or the other episode, send me a message and say, hey, best of luck in the air. I'm thinking of you. Or just at the very least, look up at a plane and think, there she is. There's my girl. She's 1,000,000 feet in the sky. I have flown. I've been pretty fortunate. I've probably been on 50 planes in my life. That's not true. Maybe like 20. I don't know. Whatever. Because I'm like, yeah, you get there and back. And I couldn't tell you a single measurement that a pilot, that's what they're called, when they're like, it's your pilot speaking, and then they say we're at a cruising altitude of X, that doesn't stick with me. And you would think I'm in a stressful situation up in the air with no idea what's going on. You'd think my body would absorb the details the way that the girl absorbed the details when she was being kidnapped in Taken 2. Unfortunate that her life has had so many situations where her dad's not protecting her, despite the fact that the entire premise is here's a woman, she keeps being taken, and her dad, who is confined to her, can't seem to keep her safe from the day dot. So, plot holes. We don't need to pick at holes and scars and problems in movies like that with Liam Neeson. Let him be. But, in that episode, she's got a bag over her head and she's 3 clicks of the this and 45 bird sounds. And then when she tells her dad, he can follow the instructions. I can't even remember the minor details that are used not even minor, the major details that are used when I'm in a plane. I'm screwed if anything bigger happens to me ever. God damn, thank God I live a privileged life. I couldn't handle anything less. I'm barely thriving in privilege. Put me anywhere, put me elsewhere, coach, and I'm fucked. But this has been my last week. And this last week, we have a number of things we're coming up against. Oh, actually, what I want to say first and foremost is about the shoes. So people voted on this poll of the shoes. People weren't into it. A lot of people were. Some of you saw the vision. Some of you did not. Such is life. But I ended up getting the shoes because my friend got an adult circumcision, right? And we don't really have time or the stomach to go into that, what that means, but you know what the word adult is and you know what the word circumcision is. So kind of 2 + 2 = yuck. And I was helping him a lot. And then as a thank you, he bought me those fucking shoes. Because I, to be honest with you, loved them, wanted them, needed them desperately. But I'll be honest with you, I don't have the budget. I don't have the space. If you could see anywhere past the walls of this camera lens, what I'm letting you see, there are piles of stunning clothes just sitting around waiting for me to decide who gets to go to Paris. Could you imagine being a hand-selected shirt or a piece of or a dress that sat for the last year or two in a thrift shop? Before that, you were in the back of a cupboard, balled up because no one wore you. Then someone fabulous comes around, me, purchases you from a shop. You sit in my cupboard, get thrown around on a stage and all these fabulous places for the last however long I've owned you for. And then you hear chit chat in the cupboard is, we're going to Paris. We're kind of like in Devil Wears Prada. It's like, who gets to go to Paris? Who gets to go to Paris? And now you think you're coming to Paris because you're now lying in a paddle in a ball on a bed, and I'm staring at you and you're staring at me going, take me to Paris, I'll learn French on Duolingo. And then you get put back in the cupboard. I can't do that to any of my girls. These girls work hard. The seams are stretched. They do their best to look good in every situation, and they match with a lot of things. They stand out from a lot of things. I mean, my clothes are working their ass off, and now some of them get to go to New York, London, Paris, and wherever else I pop over to. I just feel guilty. I feel guilty of putting one of my beautiful dresses back in the cupboard, and they get to miss out, and they ultimately miss out on a trip, and then they sit here sad in a cupboard for the next 6 months, no one touching them, wearing them, making them smell like sweat, hard-earned sweat after I've worn them all night long. And yeah, I am giving a lot of human qualities to clothing, but that's the sort of respect I give to my outfits, okay? And if you're not doing that, you probably have a capsule wardrobe, and yeah, I judge you for that. Nah, right on, if you're a capsule wardrobe girl, go for it. Some of you are like, I stopped listening when you said adult circumcision, and respect to you and yours. Best of luck. So this week, we have a couple things on the agenda. 1, figuring out the clothing situation. 2, seeing a couple friends. I did have a little going away thing with some friends because I was like, realistically, lots of you are cuck corporate people who I won't be able to see. I've got a couple shows in Sydney, not many. I think one on Thursday and then one on Saturday night, and then that's it. And then, just trying to figure out, got a few little, worky things I have to figure out. But really, the main thing is packing. And I am really struggling. And yeah, you're like, oh, you're a week out, you're fine. No, I'm not. I'm giving my family and my nearest and dearest a run for their money and a run for their patience with how insistent I am on what I want to take with me. And I cannot take more than a single big suitcase because I am just a woman and I am going to cobblestone cities because those make me happy to be alive. What is it about a city that's old with cobblestones and difficult to navigate that makes me feel like, Sydney, it's fresh, it's new, it's got tar on the streets or whatever the fuck. What do they make a street from? Tar goes in a cigarette, but isn't the whole thing that it also goes in a street? Wasn't that the ad? What are streets made from? I think it's more roads. What are roads made from? Streets are typically constructed from a variety of materials depending on their purpose and location, including asphalt, that's what I was thinking, concrete, stone, like cobblestone or flagstones. I think I was thinking of asphalt, not tar. So sorry about that little thing. All of you would have been like, I, again, haven't started listening back again since adult circumcision. So the packing's a mess because I also have to factor in how am I going to get these fucking 30-kilo suitcases if I take 2, which I can't. That's ridiculous because the problem is I'll take 2 and I'll come back with 3. So really we're saying to ourselves, what you're doing is you're taking 1 to come back with 2. That's it. That's the rule. So now I need to get suction bags and suck the life out of my coats. And then I start worrying about these girls screaming in a suction-packed bag under the belly of a plane. I really give my clothes way too much personality, and then I feel guilty. If I can't even fathom putting my clothes underneath the belly of a plane, I don't know how some of you are putting your animals. Cruel, cruel world. So I'm in a bit of an emotionally precarious position trying to figure out what I am and am not going to take. That is the main thing I need to get through this week. Everything else, do I see my family? Do I visit my grandmother in the old age home? That falls to the wayside. It's about hats, bags, shoes, shirts, jackets, and makeup. And that's the truth. And I can't lie. And I know I sound like a terrible person, but I don't really give a fuck at this point because I need help. And we all know that. I think that is one thing me and my family can all come together on and agree, because at the moment it's about 7 against 1, because all of them are yapping and screaming and shouting and calling me ridiculous. And here I am on my own. They get welcomed into my room. My parents, my family, my siblings, their partners, they get welcomed into my space, my safe space. They come in, they sit here, and they sit and they ridicule me and they mock me as a group, as a community, saying, this is never going to fit in the bag. You can't use a suction bag to pack big coats. It's not going to, what the fuck's wrong with you? And I said, whatever's wrong with me is wrong with you. We're all genetically the same pool. I'm just brave enough to show it. All of you are walking around, oh yes, hello, pretending to be normal. Just because I've let it out doesn't mean that none of you aren't freaks too. Anyway, I had a going away goodbye party. And I was really torn by that, because the problem with going away parties, birthday parties, general group hangs, is that I organize them in advance and then I go, this will be a good idea. Everyone keeps saying, hey, what are you doing for birthday? Hey, what are you doing before you leave? So then I go, I'll do something. I tell people weeks out, and then the day rolls around and I go, why the fuck am I doing this? I don't care. The people that are coming don't care. The people go, what are you doing today? What are you doing this weekend? Oh, I've got to go to my friend's thing. She's having a thing. No one wants to go to a thing. Most of all, the person organizing the thing. Let's cancel the things. Me going full Jerry Seinfeld. I obviously love spending time with all these people, and it's fun when it's combined because, I've got a bunch of crazy fucking friends. And what I love is when I see a crazy meet a crazy, and then they go, holy shit, you're crazy, and you're crazy. And then they kind of crazy together, and I go, this is beautiful, because you want your friends in different groups to get along. That's the truth. Everyone's got a friend that you can't bring anywhere because they're a liability. That's fine. We don't need excuses for that person. I just don't take that person out anywhere. I don't invite them places. I'll see them one-on-one because they're good one-on-one. But I don't want to be having to follow this person around sweeping the floor going, sorry about them. They had a really weird childhood. Whatever. And I'm not advocating to get rid of those friends. I think have one of them in every community. It keeps you on your toes, and it's kind of fun to lie about what you're doing to that friend because they have some redeemable qualities, maybe. I'm not going to advocate for that. What you want is you really do want your friends from various areas of your life to come together, because the dream is that you have a pretty solid personality and sense of self so that the people you attract similarly are in your style or taste or vibe. And so then really, even if you're talking about high school friends who you've kept around for years, or you're talking newer friends, adult friends you've made, or whatever, in theory, these people should have enough in common if you are in the center as a nucleus bringing these people together. And that is the one thing I appreciate about doing community events, birthdays, going aways, that I do get to see that my friends can merge relatively well. Now, obviously, there's asterisks there. Some of them have no interest. Some of them aren't good socializers. Some of them are introverts. Some of them are too extroverted, but overall, it is nice to see people from every part of my life and my communities. And I'm using the word community in a mocking way, if that's unclear, because it's just kind of a funny word to me, like not genuine, but even though it does articulate what I'm talking about. Point is, bunch of psychopaths came together, bunch of psychopaths left together, as one, and that's beautiful. So that's that. Now the other, like, there's really, I don't have too much to say because I just keep looking over my shoulder and seeing this pile of clothing mocking me, going, "Are we going to Paris? When are we there? Are we there yet? Shut up, girls! Some of you will make it, some of you won't." Me, Tyra Banks. She opened an ice cream shop. I have not medicated myself at all today. Not that I usually do. Maybe I self-soothe with food and iron supplements. I don't know. But something's not right. I feel out of control. Perhaps it's the hat. I think it's cooking my brain because I'm wearing a furry yellow hat if you're not physically watching this. And I think my brain is overcooking. It's a slow cooker and it's a pressure cooker. And it's about to burst. I want to say one other thing and then the episode has to wrap up. The other thing I do want to say is this week, that past, not the week coming, even though we have covered the goals for the week coming. The week past, I had a bunch of shows. Now, during one of the shows, I saw a comedian who I very rarely see. He's a little bit older. Love him. He's ridiculous. Whatever. And we're sitting around after a show. The week of shows, we had a bunch of shows together. He's a bit of a personality, so he and I do get along quite well. I find with these older kind of male comedians, what I really appreciate about them is how mean you can be to them in this way that they're cucks for it, and they absolutely love it because they're like, wow, we didn't marry women like you because we're too scared of them ultimately. But then here they are shoved into a space with one who will rip their dick off. And I think they kind of love it. Because who, regardless of gender, doesn't like someone who's like a bit psychotic? Do you know what I mean? Your day's boring and then you come across someone who makes fun of you to your face in a playful, flirty way professionally. Yeah, you're turned on. Like, for example, a couple weeks ago I did a show and there was an older dude and as I was going to leave the show, it was a gala, which means there's like a bunch of people on this show. There's like 10 comedians, each doing 7 minutes, right, of stand-up. And there's this one, and I was talking to someone else, and I'd been pretty rude to him in a fun way. He loves it the whole time. And he comes up and he goes, "Bye, guys." And I was like, "Oh, how are you getting home?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, Can you drive? That's awesome. That's so cool. I didn't realize you could drive." He was like, "What do you mean? I can drive." I said, "That's great. That's so good. I didn't actually think you were going to be able to drive." He was like, "What do you mean? Why wouldn't I be able to drive?" And I said, "What do you mean? Why are you getting so upset about it? You can drive. That's really cool." And then I saw him like a week later and he goes, "I can't stop thinking about the fact that you asked me if I can drive." I said, "Yeah, you've been dreaming about me, bitch. Yeah, I got in that little head of yours, you short king. Why don't you drive home? Because we know that you can, because you have to feel like you had to prove yourself to me." Anyway, so I kind of fuck with them like that. It's simple, it's small, it's insidious, and it just burrows into their head and makes them second guess themselves and the vibe that they're putting out there into the world despite being like kind of strong, confident men. And I'll do it to anybody. It's not gendered. I'll do it to a non-binary. I'll do it to a girl. Okay, whoever you are, you're on the firing line for me to undermine who you think you are. And I think that's fun. And I think ultimately it keeps everyone on their toes. So I'm at this show with this other old man. I'm making fun of him. No one, la, 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 la. Anyway, gets to the end of this show. We're all sitting around having a drink. And he goes quiet and he's looking on his phone for something. And we're all shit talking about something or other. And then and it's me, a young female comedian, similar age to me, and 2 older dudes. Having an absolute blast, shit talking like nobody's business. This old man, he pulls out his phone and he's looking at it, okay. And he goes, you remind me so much of this person. And he shows the photo to the other old comedian. And the old comedian's like, "Don't show her that." He goes, "You look just like her." And the other guy goes, "No, she doesn't." Now he turns the fucking camera around, and what do you think is on the screen? Whilst he slowly turns his camera around, his phone around, so I can see the picture, he starts describing a woman who is a lesbian who killed herself, who had previously put in an insane asylum. Those are just the top stats about this woman, who was loud, and flips the phone around whilst just telling me about this woman, to reveal a very masculine lesbian with a crew cut who is big, a big woman. This photo is profile, not her good side. She's sitting at a table eating, and the photo is from, I don't know, 1984. So it's a picture on an iPhone of a picture of it from a fucking film camera. And then the girl, the other female comedian who's there, takes the phone and goes, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And now I go, yeah, it obviously does. Because if you're all compensating this hard. And I'm like, hey, fuck you, you old man. And he was like, I loved her. She was my mom's best friend. She was like my auntie, my godmother. I loved her. She was so funny. She was so ridiculous. I go, hey, the similarities between me and this woman is that we're loud, we're insane, and we're fat. And we have brown hair. I haven't been to an insane asylum. I haven't been lobotomized despite my request. And I'm not a lesbian despite everyone else's request. And I am sick to death of getting these horrific doppelganger comparisons. And it's not like he led with, you don't look like her, but you had a similar vibe. And it's not like, and he shows me not an attractive woman. And I'm sitting there going, the fuck are you guys on about? And he starts to go, she was so funny, like she was so ridiculous, so loud. Do you think you're making this situation any more pleasant for me? Do you think I'm falling in love with this story and this woman and this unflattering photo of a woman who killed herself because she went insane and they tried in the 70s putting her in an insane asylum? Do you think that's what I want to hear on a Saturday night? Why the fuck do you think that this is a compliment? Now, some of my friends get doppelgangers, right? And on occasion, if I'm wearing the right glasses and my hair is curly enough, I'll get Charlie XCX. But I think that's literally just the similar hairstyle with glasses. We don't have any other features alike. We also can't dance or sing alike. I am far superior as a lyricist, okay? But I have friends who get doppelgangers all the time, and they're celebrities because that is the go-to doppelganger, right? You don't really get a doppelganger on a random Wednesday of like, you remind me exactly of my lesbian aunt who suicided. But also, I seem to have a string of suicide-adjacent kind of personality and vibe-wise that I get compared to. So that was the most recent doppelganger. And I said to these guys, I said, hey, whatever. I'm not even offended about everything, I mean, it doesn't feel good. I don't feel sexual after hearing this comparison to a 70, 50 or 60. I mean, she was timeless because it was a profile photo and her vibe seems impeccable. Obviously, if she's anything like me, good on her. Hard to hear she killed herself because I got to tell you, a couple of years ago, I was doing a show. This is the only other fucking aesthetic comparison, vibe comparison I have ever received. So one, it's this lesbian aunt who is in an insane asylum. That's one, my most recent comparison. Then years ago, I've never gotten any other celebrity comparison. No profiled, like no person who's a profile. Like, you look like this like politician or this whatever. Nothing, right? A couple of years ago, I'm at a show. This always happens to me at a show. I seem to be sniped. At a show, it's the break. There's a bunch of dudes. We're sitting upstairs in this kind of green room. And the man who runs the show is a douchebag. So we're sitting upstairs. It's me, a bunch of these dudes. I've kind of just moved back from America, so I don't really know that many people. I don't have community as much. God, stop saying community this episode. Whereas now I feel very confident shit talking with whoever and kind of pushing back if someone was to treat me like shit. But then I had just started back in Australia, so I wasn't as well connected with people who are established or people in general. So I was still a little bit timid at shows. So we're sitting upstairs and the guy who runs this show, he comes up to where we're all sitting, me and the dudes, and majority of the guys at this point are within 5 to 20 years older than me. So they're a little bit older, or maybe even like 10 to 25 years older than me. And he comes up and he kind of does this thing which a lot of guys will tend to do where they talk about you to you're there and they're talking about you to everybody else, but they're not like talking to you. So it's almost as if I'm not there. He does this thing where he kind of like talks around about me, but without actually addressing me. And he's speaking to all the other men to kind of tell them who I am without actually directly telling me. So he goes, doesn't she remind you so much of my cousin? And they're all kind of like, oh, okay. And they start getting confused and almost kind of pulling back. So I go, something's not right here. And he goes, yeah, she reminds me so much of my cousin, you know, like just the vibe and the stage presence and the kind of like energy. And I was like, okay, who the fuck's your cousin? Like, this is so weird. And finally I go, who is he talking about? Because I was getting so frustrated because he was talking about me as if I wasn't fucking there. And I turned to one of the guys and I go, who is he talking about? And he's like, oh, it's actually a huge compliment. And I can't remember the man's name, so let's call him John. But he goes, it's a huge compliment. It was his cousin John. He was an amazing comedian in the 90s. He killed himself and he was a big fat Jewish guy. And I went, oh, okay. Amazing. What a compliment. I remind you of a suicidal fat Jewish man. And I was like, oh. And he goes, no, it's such a compliment. Like, he was an amazing comedian. He was so funny. He was so quick. He was such a fun. Are we missing the point where he said fat Jewish comedian who killed himself? I'll never forget that day. That day is seared into my memory up until the day that just happened where I was compared to a big insane asylum lesbian who also offed herself. It almost is written in the cards with all these doppelgängers. Sorry, shouldn't be joked about, but it's not right. It's not right that these people keep talking about all the people that I remind them of. And if you believe it, these people all died before I was born. Maybe all of their souls are trapped in me, just screaming to get out. I think I've got to do some sort of seance ceremony or like conjuring spirits thing, or maybe I need to go to one of those really evangelical religious groups where they have a pastor kind of say what's in you, and I say, the demons of all my doppelgangers, let them out, and then they put their hand on my head and they say, release you, and then I start convulsing on the floor. If anyone's seen some of those TikToks that I'm referencing or been to some of those churches, maybe I have a huge religious audience. Who knows? So it's been an interesting week, to say the fucking least. I actually don't even know what I'm going to do about this packing. I am not sure what next week's episode is. There's a part of me that desperately wants to record an episode whilst I'm at the airport on Monday morning. It is going to be about 8 a.m. and I don't know if I have the capacity for that, but I'm going to see. I might record like a mini episode just sitting somewhere, and then just have that be. But I hate the idea that the quality of it will be terrible. But anyway, want to say thanks for listening. I don't know what today was. I really think this hat kind of sealed in too much pressure and heat in my head. And I keep having flashbacks to various things I've said throughout the episode and go, that's probably not good to say or do or be. But it is the episode. It's not the episode you want or you need, but it's the episode you got. And isn't that the kind of statement that I get told when I say that's not who I want to remind you of doppelganger-wise? And they go, well, it is who you are. It is what it is. God bless. Me becoming Trump. God bless. I don't know I can't do it. I'm not good with that stuff. You know, some people's sense of humor, very silly, very playful, very, very light. Not for me. Hey? I'm more of a verbally eviscerate you in a way that you can't help but laugh kind of style of comedy. I'm not silly. I'm not playful. I'm not light on the toes. I'm pretty dense. My feet are wide. I always need an extra wide boot. It's why none of you have ever seen me fall over. I'm rooted on this fucking earth, which is why I'm scared to fly in the sky and I never listen to the announcements of how high up we go. Anyway, season's greetings, blessings, travel safe, be yourself, and let me know if I remind you of anyone who's still alive. That's my goal for this week, is to find someone I remind someone of who hasn't died by over an hour.